Tattooing and piercing have been part of human history for centuries. They have played crucial roles in spiritual and cultural practices within multiple societies. While the historical influence of tattooing and piercing may be fairly well known, there are other forms of body modifications that are of equal historical importance, but are just now beginning to gain some esteem. Rob Womelsdorf is an artist who has been part of this movement for 15 years.
Branding, of course, is what most people are going to understand is where it's actually design is burnt into the skin. I actually don't use a hot strike technique. I use a cauterizing pen. So basically I'll just use the pen to brand over the top of the design, where with scarification, we use a scalpel and cut it into the skin.
Scarification and branding are only a few of what is referred to as heavy mods. There are, of course, others. Cullen Leong has had a forehead implant for over a year now. The implant process is a surgical procedure not unlike breast implants and other cosmetic surgeries. An incision is made, the skin is separated, and an object, usually silicone-based, is inserted.
Just like really loud pop from the inside of your head. That's how the skin separates, and yeah.
The laws around scarification, branding, tongue splitting, and beating basically comes down to consent. Australian law takes a clear stand on behalf of minors, stating that they cannot consent to heavy mods. However, there is a gray area in regards to whether or not adults can consent to heavy mods. This is because heavy mods are technically forms of bodily harm, and the law would therefore classify them as assault. Tattooing and surgery have received a pardon from this law due to their historical importance, but these heavy mods have yet to be granted this pardon.
When I was back in high school, it was my first sort of step into doing brandings. We'd sit up in maths class and sort of do brandings, you know. Basically just a cigarette lighter and, you know, a bit of metal or whatever, and yeah, away we go. So you can imagine like the whole place would smell of burnt flesh. It was pretty crazy.
Now, not everyone received their branding training in high school math class, but the reality is that people get hurt when the proper precautions aren't taken.
It should be left in the hands of professionals and someone who's experienced, you know. That little thing about doing it in the back of maths class, you know, that was just silly kid stuff. Thank Christ that no one really got hurt or, you know, or any real problems with it. But if you're not doing it in a sterile condition, and that's where problems will arise, you know. So when you're not doing it in a professional studio, that's when problem starts, and that's where the law's going to get involved.
And the reason why I would think that there's a lack of clarity here is because it's probably a relatively new area. And what you'd probably be looking at is having proper licensing procedures in terms of what's required, such as you would have for tattooing at the moment. And there's obviously a difference between an expert brander as opposed to someone just doing a job at home.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy what I do, and I do the best I can for people, you know. So it would be a real shame if we couldn't do it anymore. It would be losing lots of history.
Dariel Medina with Mirror Mirror Magazine.